All right, so today we're going to get started, and I am going to show you the supplies that you will need for your printmaking and symbolism project. So this is a little bit more of an in-depth project. It actually doesn't take as long, but there's a lot of process. So you will need a pencil, preferably an actual dull pencil, not a sharp one. Well, I'll give you 3 choices of colored paper, a paper for sketching, a brayer. This is what's going to be your print making tool. One or the other, white or black. I may have blue, I'm not sure how much I have available. Ink, and then this piece of styrofoam. This is going to be your printing plate. So I'm going to show you how we are going to print an image from here onto your sheets of paper. All right, I'm going to do this a little different this time. I'm in a different setting, so I'm going to explain what we're doing before we start, so that way you have an idea of what you want to do. We are going to end up making a printing plate. If you can see here, I've done a fish. We're talking about symbolism in this project, and a symbol is something that represents or has a meaning to something else. So for example, this project, we're doing a faith-based project. So I told everyone in our class to think about something that you think of when you think of Catholic or Christianity. I chose the fish we talked about in class, and you'll see in the Google Slides that a lot of the times in the Gospels they talk about fishermen, and if you've ever driven around town, you might have seen the fish symbol on the back of someone's vehicle. It does represent Christianity, so I chose that to be my symbol for faith. You could do hands praying, you could do the steeple of a church, you could do stained glass, you could do the rosary, something that you feel has meaning to you. All these are going to look different, but I want it to be important to you. You'll notice on the very last slide of the Google Slides that I've made to accompany this video, there are 3 things I want you to think about. Why did you choose the picture or the image that you did? What is the meaning that it represents to you? And I want you to think about a title for your artwork. Now, you don't have to do that right before you start, but think about that and keep that in the back of your head. This is what you're going to start with, a printing plate, and then you're going to print it with ink on colored paper. So these are the ones that I made from the original print plate. Okay? I'm going to show you how to do this, but first what I'm going to have you do is take your sheet of paper. This can be in a sketchbook, it can be on a scrap paper, but this is, I want you to, before you start making the actual project on your print plate, to come up with 3 to 5 sketch ideas of different symbols of faith and Christianity for you. So as you can see, I've done some sketches of some ideas that I thought of, and I'm going to choose one that I think represents faith to me. I think I might choose this one because I like some of the detail in it, and I can keep it simple and then make some kind of detail in the background. Next, what you want to do is you're going to take your styrofoam sheet. Now you'll notice that there's a raised lip on here. I actually don't want this edging on here, so I'm going to ask you to take your scissors and you're going to cut along the edges, and you can just take those pieces off. So I'm going to speed this up so you can see what the end result will look like. So the next step to this process is that you'll have this plain styrofoam plate. And now I want to take the image that I originally did in my sketch. I just cut this down off of the piece of paper that I did the sketch from. And I can do one of 2 things. I can either choose to trace with my pencil just over what I had already done. If I choose to trace it, I have to make sure that when I do lay this down in the middle of my sheet that I do not move the paper. So I'll have to hold the paper down with my other hand so that way it doesn't move, because if you lift it up and you go back and you put it in a different spot, it's not going to match up. You can choose to do that, tracing, or you can just go ahead and free draw on here from your sketch, and you can just put this as a source of reference to the side and go ahead and sketch it or put it back onto this sheet. I'm going to just draw it because I'm comfortable doing that, but if you want to trace, you can, if you like your sketch a lot. But I'm going to just draw it, and I'm going to speed it up. Before I do that, I want to just show you, when you press down with your pencil, please do not press hard because you will go through this styrofoam. For example, I'll take one of these scrap sheets. If you notice, I press very hard. See how I'm doing this? Actually, it makes a hole in your styrofoam. You don't want to do that. So you're going to just press gently enough so that there is a line and a groove cut down into it slightly. But it's not all the way through to the other side because you will have a hole and you'll have to start over, okay? So you're being very mindful about how hard you're pressing with your pencil, okay? Keep that in mind as you work. And just be sure that you don't give yourself too much pressure because you'll make a hole in the plate. So as you can see, I have my original image here and I etched it into the styrofoam plate. So this is my print plate now. All of my grooves are down far enough that there's an indent, but they're not so far down that it has gone through my print plate. I also added some detail in the background. If you have a very simple image on the inside, think about going back and adding some detail so that way all of the space is covered and used up, so there's not a whole bunch of white space with nothing in it, either even in the middle or on the background. Okay, and now I'm going to show you how to ink this. Okay, so to start, I'm going to have you just think about how you're going to set up first so you can ink. I'm using in class a tray. If you do not have a tray at home, that's okay. You can put down a sheet of newspaper and put down some tin foil. Just put a sheet of tin foil out and you can actually squeeze your ink on top of your tin foil, okay? So I'm gonna put some ink on my space here. Now this is gonna be a little thick and that's okay. You don't need too much. Okay, a little goes a long way. You can always add more. Okay, I have my printing plate, which is the design that I did. And then I have my sheet of paper, okay? So I'm gonna do the plate. I'm gonna stick that right on my newspaper so that way I don't mess up my table. And then I have the tool that we're gonna be using is called the brayer. A brayer is what we're gonna ink onto and then we're gonna actually go right over our plate, okay? So to do this, you're just gonna go right over and make sure you're getting the entire roller. You're gonna go in one direction this way and then the other direction this way. You don't want to have too much thickness. If you see on my brayer, you don't want to have too much thickness on your brayer. You want to kind of have a little less so it's not super tacky. All you're going to be doing is giving it a layer on your plate. So I'm going to go right ahead and ink my plate and I'm going to go in both directions. You want to make sure all the spaces are covered. Okay, you may get a little on your fingers. This will wash right off in the water. As you can see, or maybe you can't, I am inking my entire plate in both directions. Okay, you can set this down on your tray. I did get a little bit on my finger. That's okay because I was holding my plate down. And then I'm going to take my sheet of paper. I'm doing blue. I'm going to make sure there's no ink around on my workspace. My plate is inked and I'm going to lay down the paper on top, okay? Once it's down, you want to make sure you don't lift it up. You want to go in small circles and you'll be able to feel it all along the edges. All around, working your way all the way around the styrofoam plate. Okay, and then when you think you've gotten all the space, you can go ahead and lift up. This is the fun part. You'll have your print, okay? You're gonna do this with 3 different colors. So I have blue. I'm gonna ink again on my plate. I'm gonna do red, okay? So you're gonna go ahead, go back in with your ink. Make sure you have enough on your brayer. Go ahead and cover up your plate again. Remember, you have to do both directions so that way all your plate is covered, okay? This is called relief printing. The surfaces that are raised are the ones that you're going to keep the image from. Okay, I have my plate, my paper, I set it right on top. Again, work all the way around. And if it's not perfectly centered, that's okay. We can always cut the paper down slightly. Just so that way you get the full image. Work my way around, okay? I think I've got it all covered. And then lift up. I have red. And now I have a little bit on the edges here, that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'll do a third one, and then I'll have all 3 prints, okay? So as you can see, I have my 3 prints, 1, 2, 3. When I put these all together, I'll have them probably spaced like this together, so they make a line. I do have my wet brayer and ink. This can go ahead, if you have tin foil, just crumple it up and toss it, and then all you have to do is wash this with water. You don't even need to use soap. It comes out really easily, but it is ink, so make sure you try not to get on your clothes. But it rinses out fairly easy. And then I'm gonna go ahead and give this a title once this all dries, and I'm gonna do my little write-up that's on your last slide. And you're going to just write maybe 3 to 5 sentences about your artwork, what your symbol is, and what it means to you in your faith, okay?